Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Hog Experience podcast. My name is Ian Victor, your host, and I want to talk about this. I want to talk about why this offseason is critical for Schenider and the Seahawks. So, the reason why I say this, I could name a couple of things. One, this past free agency class was a complete botch. Like, this past free agency class was just like bad enough to a point where you had two linebackers that literally got cut and traded like literally before the second half of the season. Then you had some players who didn't even make the roster. And then you had, a few players that was just below average at best. And not only that, I kind of felt that a lot of these players that were signed during the 2024 offseason were just based off their PFF grades. Like if they had a high PFF grade, they were getting signed to like this 1 year contract with like oh at least some decent money, but not like a big chunk of money. And I would say that the draft, this past draft class, you had a few couple of players that made their impacts. They still got some development to do, and you even had one cornerback that was like DJ James who didn't even make the final roster before the season. Like he got cut like I say like the final preseason game. Like I kind of questioned why him and Nehemiah Pritchard were both drafted because like literally especially DJ James, because I cannot get out of my head that 4 for 27 play when he was at Auburn going against Alabama, when Jalen Milroe threw that, I say a prayer to Isaiah Bond on that 4 for 27, and the game was basically right over after that because I just wasn't confident in Auburn's offense to score right after that. So yeah, like this past draft class, I mean, Byron Murphy is a hit. AJ Barner is a hit. Tyrese Knight is a hit. Christian Haynes, to be seen. Lamea has some development. Mike Jarrell has some development. But this free agency class was just terrible. And I will say another thing. The reason why this free agency class was just terrible because the like I say there was an alignment issue between the coaches and the front office because, like, literally around this time, Mike was, moving his family, you know, to Seattle and really, really trusted Schneider to, make the moves in a free agency. And you saw how that turned out. So I will say another thing. They got to improve the offensive line. They have to improve the offensive line because the past like 10 years, ever since Max Unger got traded to New Orleans for Jimmy Graham, they never really, really got to truly rebuild the offensive line. Like, it's just been bottom of the barrel, the bottom of the dump offensive line. And I think this past season, it was just, yeah, you kind of just, think about when the Pittsburgh game, I say like the 2023 season. It was just like, okay, this can no longer go on for the defense. I say about the Packers and the Vikings game. this can no longer go for the offensive line because, especially the interior, because the interior is not been good. Like you literally had a center who had a lot of limitations. No wonder why they had to go get Connor Williams out of free agency, who was just coming off a pretty serious injury. And not only that, Connor Williams ended up retiring, mid-season. So Olu ended up getting a starting job or whatnot. So they got to improve this offensive line. Like, it has just been a roller coaster of interior guards, centers. Like, no wonder why they had to go trade for Dwayne Brown in 2017 because the left tackle, I don't even remember who it was because it was just so that long. It was literally a long time ago. Like, the left side was so bad that they had to go trade for Dwayne Brown, which turned out to be a hit, to be exactly. It turned out to be a hit. So I say this free agency, I I predict that they are going to address the interior offensive line. I think they're going to go get a center. I think they're either going to get a Drew Dalman or a Ryan Kelly. My insights is telling me, my instincts is telling me that they're going to go get a Drew Dalman. If they don't get a Drew Dalman or a Ryan Kelly, I think Jalen Sundell may be the starting center. That, as if they don't get a Drew Dalman or Ryan Kelly. And for all the people that wanted it to see Trey Smith on the team, I got some sad news for you. Kansas City has officially franchise tagged him. I kind of expected that to happen, and he may get traded. I don't know. He may ended up getting traded. We never know. But my prediction is that Trey Smith is going to be a Kansas City Chief. So they gotta address the guard spots. They gotta address the center spot in free agency. And not only that, they gotta add. They gotta they gotta address the offensive line in the draft as well. I say take a guard or two in his draft because it has to get fixed. And another reason why this is a crucial offseason for the Seahawks, you got to get the fans back. You got to get Lumen Field back because I think the record has been like 20-19 ever since like they came back from the pandemic, allowing the fans back in. Like, been pretty average. Like, we all know that the ticket prices are high. We all know that Lumen Field, the Seahawks games, is not cheap to go to. Like, they're pretty expensive, which I would like to go sometime this year. But ticket prices are high, which that is expected. But the team's not winning. No wonder why you have fans, selling their tickets because the product is just not good. Like, I can give you an example, like the Tennessee Titans. I remember a game where they were playing the Vikings, and I saw it on social media from good friends of mine when the Vikings was playing the Titans in Nashville. I say at least 85-90% over at Nissan Field in Nashville. It was full of Viking fans. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, it was full of Viking fans. And I'm not gonna worry about any other team, but I'm just bringing an example. So you got to get the fans back. Like, you gotta put a better product on the field, and not only that, ticket prices are gonna have to come down because That's another issue as well, which I will get into that another day. And you gotta start winning games at home. Like this past season, you were like 3-6 at home. Like you gotta win games at home. You have to win at home. It all starts at home. And I remember a quote from Mike McDonald. He said, "We got to turn this place into a nightmare," which I do agree with him with. Like you gotta turn Lumen Field into a place where teams literally hate to go there and play. Like these past couple years, bro, teams and other visiting teams fans, they love to come here. They want to take over because the product has just not been good. The teams just haven't been good. Like this past season, the defense took a big step, but the offense was just, I don't know. And there's another thing. They got to fix the offense. They have to fix the offense because this past season, like first couple games, the offense was kind of like up and down, but then the second half it went downhill. Like the offense was just, oh my goodness. Like you didn't have a run game. Like we literally threw the ball like 90% of the time. I mean, I remember the game against the Packers when Gino had to go out and they put Sam Howell in the game. They threw the ball like 19 damn times. Like you can't do that. And I'm not saying that Ryan Grubb was a bad offensive coordinator, but when you come to the NFL, like I know Ryan Grubb came from college, but when you come to the NFL and you throw the ball 90% of the time, it's not going to work because these defensive coordinators, they can literally, okay, we could just play too high safety, and get shut down if you don't have a counter punch. And not only that, we didn't even run the ball well. Like we got to get to running the football back because there should be no reason why should have K9 should have at least 1,000 yards. Isaac Charbonnet as well. Like you kind of have a two-headed monster. If you want to throw Kenny and McIntosh in there, you could potentially have a three-headed monster at running back. I do predict that they could take a running back in this draft class just so they could compete for that fourth spot with George Olani. So, that's my take on that. And I would say another reason why this offseason should be critical, especially for John Schneider. I would have to say this. Pete Carroll is not here anymore. He's with the Raiders now. And I'm having I'm having that feeling that there could be a new GM if this thing just goes wrong and we miss the playoffs. The O line is still terrible. I think we could have a new GM. And there's been rumblings from what I'm hearing. It said that as long as Jody Allen's the owner, that John is going to be the GM. I wonder if she said the same thing about Pete Carroll. If she was still the owner, Pete would still be the coach until he decided to retire. But I don't know. I don't have no verification of that part. But if you want to let me know in the comment section, you know, I'm here to hear you out, you know. But I think this is a really, really big offseason, especially for Schneider, because last season there wasn't an alignment between the coaches and the front office. The I think that this is a different John Schneider because I think that the front office and the coaching staff are aligned, and there has been a different approach when it comes to evaluating offensive line, in which Schneider has admitted, like the front office has to do, scouting, has to do a better job of evaluating online, especially since John Bitton has come along, that they are starting to evaluate offensive linemen, especially more different than the past couple years. And not only that, I wonder what's the question at quarterback? Because I know Gino's going to get an extension, and I know a lot of people's not going to like that, but it's the right thing to do. It's just the right thing to do. This quarterback class of free agency, don't even get me started. The draft, I mean, you could take a couple flyers, but in my personal opinion, I say build a foundation. You know, get add a strength to the defensive line. Draft some offensive linemen. I say take a guard or two or center as well. You know, if you want to take a flyer on a Jackson Dart, Quinn Ewers, which I would stay away from, in my personal opinion, which I will make another video about that, on why the Seahawks should not draft Quinn Ewers. But if they want to take a flyer on a Will Howard or Riley Leonard or Kyle McCord, you know, eh, you don't gotta plug them in right away, because I know you're not gonna get Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, even though in my opinion I think they're like second round picks, because I just don't think that Shedeur or Cam. I mean, if they would have came out last year's draft, there would have definitely been second round picks, because it was just no way that they were going top 10, especially with 6 quarterbacks coming off the board before, I say, pick 10. That's just how I feel. But hey, I'm just gonna leave it up right here for now. Like this is going to be a big off season, because it's not about who is going to be new additions. I say who is going to be cut. We already found out that Rayshawn Jenkins has been granted permission to seek a trade, which I gotta find that shocking, because I thought he was going to be a cap casualty. To me, in my opinion, I thought he was going to be a cap casualty. But if you can get something for him, hey, like I say, at least a late fourth or fifth round pick. Hey, at least it's another draft capital. And I'm not expecting Lockett to be back. I'm not expecting Draymond Jones to be back. I'm not I'm not expecting Farrell Brown to be back. I'm not I am expecting Gino to be re-signed. I'm expecting DK to be re-signed. I'm also expecting for the Seahawks to sign a center. I am also expecting that Ernest Jones and Jaron Reed both to be re-signed as well. And my personal opinion, I don't know what they're gonna do with Noah Fant. Noah Fant is just gonna be a wait and see, because my personal opinion, I think they should just double up on tight end and cut loose with Noah Fant. That's just my opinion. But hey, this is a critical offseason. Fix the offensive line, fix the offense, get the run game going. Let's add let's add to a strength. Let's develop these offensive linemen, and let's get Lumen Field back to what it was once, a tough place to play. Because the last couple of years, it's been average. It's been average, and you gotta. And let me say this: if there is an opportunity for you to go get a Micah Parsons or a Myles Garrett, I say you take a chance because you got to get some superstars on this team. You have to get a superstar on this team. Yeah, we know DK is primarily one, but I don't know how the rest of the fan base is going to feel about that. But if you can add a Myles Garrett or Michael Parsons or any superstar caliber type of player, I say you take the chance. Go call the Cowboys or go call the Browns, even though the Browns are strongly adamant that they're going to keep Myles Garrett, which I do not believe. I know it's going to take, a couple first rounders or a player or two or a second, a couple first, a player, another pick as well. But you it has to be an aggressive offseason. I would love for the Seahawks to be aggressive this offseason. And we're gonna start to hear about, cap casualties and all that. Because the combine is still underway, and once that's all said and done, the I think the cuts, people that are getting re-signed, and the draft as well, which I am going to be coming out with a mock draft. So yeah, if if this offseason does not go well, I think Schenider could be on that hot seat. I think he could be on that hot seat because me personally, I see Mike McDonald as the type of coach that he ain't just gonna sit around and notice that something is wrong and not and is just gonna sit there. Like I think he's the type of guy that's going to go to John Schneider and it's like, hey, we know like this position is a problem. What are we going to do to fix this? You saw him did it with the linebackers earlier in the season. He's not afraid to be tenacious. So, I'm gonna just go ahead and just leave it right here for right now. If you like this video, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss out on a video. And till next time, I'm signing out. Peace.